Umoja coalition and opening its doors to more like-minded outfits. The coalition has stepped up efforts to broaden its national support, which may include Edwin Sifuna and Rigathi Gachagua's DCP. Wakili, many people are comparing this to what happened in 2002 when all the other parties came together and formed a grand coalition. Do you think it's possible? Do you think that comparison is valid?
Good. So thank you very much. I think it's not new for such grand coalition propositions to happen. And as you've rightfully put, the train left the station in 2002. Since 2002, coalition politics is our mainstay. And if you're to go by the last 2 elections or 3 elections, I'll pick 2013. 2002 was amalgamation of every Tom, Dick and Harry to break the back of KANU regime. 2007 was 2 major players, in this case ODM versus PNU. Again, constellation, it was a spillover of 2002. But from 2013, 2017 and 2022, you have these 2 hardening blocks and maybe a third party. Like in 2013, you had the Amani coalition that was lost. But in 2017 and 2022, 2 hard coalitions. Jubilee versus NASA, and then you had Azimio versus Kenya Kwanza. So in 2022, I don't see much of a different script. So I'll answer your question by first saying it is expected because our coalition politics at the national level are now a mainstay. It's not more or less like a chancing. It's not circumstantial. It is a political reality and fact that has been now firmly established as our national political trajectory. However, what changes is the making of such coalition. Most of the time it is not plain as it appears. I actually think our coalition politics has become like the transfer season for the football. Like if you look at FKF, they are preparing for the opening of their league in August. So the transfer season is open, so the signing on is happening. If you look at the sports world over, whether in the US NBA, if you talk about the football in the European leagues, now we are seeing it in our political space. So what's happening? You have new emerging talent, and within the opposition, the new emerging kid on the block is Sifuna, who definitely, as I mentioned previously in this panel, has appended the stakes both in opposition and in government. Why I'm saying so, in opposition, he was not a consideration. Linda Mwananchi was not on the table. DCP, it was Wiper, more or less DCP and Rigathi, and the others, which in this case you have Martha Karuas, the Peter Munyas, Eugene Wamalwa, all those constellation. Then Sifuna happens. That upends everything. And that's why you've been seeing Peter Salasia being a sidekick of Eugene Wamalwa, throwing tantrums every single day, every day and night, talking about Sifuna. Because you can see they are the first casualty within the opposition ranks. Because that would mean on the table from the Western region, if it's about opposition coalition, then Sifuna is first among equals. Then there's a misnomer of DCP. You have Rigathi, as it stands, being unable to hold an office, yet commands the biggest vote block, if we are to go by numbers, within the opposition ranks. If you're talking about Mount Kenya's entry into the foray, they're the biggest number within the block, but without an individual to sit on the table, because the perceived leader of that DCP bloc cannot sit. That's why Methu is standing in. But Methu has not captured the space unless something happens again. So unlike before, that's why I say it's a transfer season. You have balls shifting. So that, again, I don't understand, or I'm not sure, the relation between the 4th president and Rigathi. Why? Olkalau for me was a major political happening. 2 things happened. One, there was a formal consolidation of Rigathi Gachagua as the first among, like more or less like the leader for whatever the Mount Kenya region, if you are to go by the results of Olkalau, which means there is a forceful handover of power from Uhuru Kenyatta to Rigathi Gachagua. How has Uhuru treated that? I'm not sure. He still appears to be the leader of the coalition. How does that play out? Again, it's on the balls. There's also been a quiet, more or less slowdown of Kalonzo being perceived the obvious leader of the pack. That again is not happening. The emergence of Sifuna has seen more or less like the overshadowing of Kalonzo and Matiang'i, which then leaves you with the player and the deck who's yet to show his cards, in this case the president, William Ruto, waiting in the wings. Because the work of Kenya Kwanza is simple. Don't unravel your side of the divide. And the unraveling of the side of divide, again, the impact of Olkalau by-election. I keep going back to this Olkalau by-election. It causes a problem to the brigade within Kenya Kwanza. In this case, the deputy president. All of a sudden, post-Olkalau, unlike before Olkalau, the talk about the deputy presidency has emerged. And for the first time, Kindiki is equally addressing it. So you find it to be a case of coalitions forming. Between August, where we are now, and December, expect transfers to happen.
Expect more of this. But my problem and my issue is Azimio and where it plays in all this. When Gachagua, a few months ago, when there was talk about a revival of Azimio, you came here in studio and you dismissed the talk in total. You said that is a non-starter and you shall not consider it.